Welcome to the Ring Chasers podcast. We're here live talking about the NBA playoffs and more. We're going to open up here today talking about some of the teams that were eliminated this past week. And we're going to open up talking about the Philadelphia 76ers.
Let's go. I had my main man Kawhi. What a shot that was. That was a great shot.
The shot. Was it lucky? Was that shot lucky? I'm gonna open up fast enough.
He's hitting corner shots like that a lot. He's really perfected that mid-range game. You know, you don't see that a lot in the NBA today. If you look at where shots are common, it's mostly just in the paint or in the three. You don't see a lot of mid-range shooters. But yeah, what a finish to that game.
I have to think that shot was a bit lucky. I mean,
as a fan of Kawhi, I can't say it's lucky. I could say it was
big ricochet off the rim. Big ricochet off the rim. Anyhow, let's talk about the 76ers. They're out of the playoffs. We can talk about the Raptors later. But what's next for the Philadelphia 76ers? Do you think they need to make any trade moves regarding anybody on their team? Jimmy Butler potentially could leave this offseason.
I think he is. I don't know if you had seen you had seen what I had sent in our group chat that he's just said goodbye, that thank you for everything, 76ers. I don't know if you had saw that, but I think that's a sign right there that he's definitely leaving. I think for him and how, as a player, how much I like him, I would like to see him on another team. I think he'd be a great leader, and definitely a first option. I could see him surrounding himself with a couple other options scoring wise and everything else, but definitely I would like to see him move from that team. But what do you think?
I'm not sold on Jimmy Butler on the Philadelphia 76ers, but I don't think he's their biggest problem. I think they have one big problem that they need to get rid of, and it's either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid.
Is this supposed to be a hot take?
It is.
That's their future. They can't. I don't think that would be a good move. I think they're really great players at their position. I think the best thing they need to do is keep their team. Jimmy Butler is definitely leaving. I'm 100% on that. I think he's going to leave. I think he should leave. And Tobias Harris, I think he should. I think he's on a player option, so I would see what he can do with. I don't know. I would like to see him stay with that team because I think he'd be a great third option. But I don't know. I don't know what else they can do with their team. I don't see anybody being interested in joining that team.
Here's my reasoning for them to trade Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons.
Yes.
A lot of people this week have been recapping this game, and they were complaining that Joel Embiid was not getting the ball in the post enough towards the end of the game. If you want Joel Embiid to get the ball in the post, if you do give Joel Embiid the ball in the post and he's deep in the paint, that completely takes Simmons out of the game because there's no way for Simmons to score. If Simmons goes into the paint, he's immediately double-teamed.
I don't think he was getting the ball that much because of players like Tobias and players like
Joel Embiid,
Jimmy Butler, and he was pretty sick. I don't think they wanted to rely on him that much with him being sick and injured and
he had the ball.
All that.
He had the ball. He was just like 30 feet away from the hoop. He was at the three-point line.
He was hitting some threes. Marc Gasol was biting on every pump fake, which kind of irritated me.
But I mean, Joel Embiid is not a three-point shooter. We saw that this year. We continue to see that over and over again.
He was hitting shots. He's not a consistent three-point shooter, but
he's not consistent.
He's hitting shots. He's a big man who needs to be in the paint, but in today's game,
he's
hitting threes.
He's unstoppable in the paint, and they need him in the paint. So if Ben Simmons is clogging the paint and there's no way for him to score outside of the paint, then
who's to say that he's not going to learn? He's gonna work on his shot and become a mid-range shooter, hopefully a three-point shooter. There's nothing stopping him. He's got the will.
That's my one caveat on trading Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid is if one of them creates a great jump shot and a reliable jump shot, then I can see it. For me, it kind of has to be Ben Simmons because you don't want Joel Embiid outside we don't want Joel Embiid at the 3-point line. You want him in the post. But one of them has to develop a jump shot for sure for this to even for them to have a chance to win the Eastern Conference ever, in my opinion.
They've got a great team. I don't agree with them trading away their biggest players because who knows if Tobias Harris will stay? Who knows if any of the other players will stay. I think they're all a great team. Mike Scott, James Ennis, J.J. Redick. Those are all great players coming off the bench or being a six-man or being a role player. They're all great players. But I think keeping Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid is your best option to becoming a title contender in the East.
I tell you what,
that's
the 76ers surprised me. I didn't think they would take the Raptors to 7 games. I thought that it'd be a much easier series for the Raptors. I think the 76ers actually did a great job, especially defensively in that series, at containing the Raptors. I think we see the Raptors' lack of scoring options, and we'll talk about that later. But the 76ers, I think overall it should be kind of a positive season, but they have a lot of reform to do in the offseason. And in my opinion, I think it starts with either one of Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons developing a jump shot or trading one of them. That's my little hot take.
I can agree with that. Yeah, the 76ers did look like they were. I don't know. The 76ers looked more like they were going to win that series, especially the very first 3-4 games of the series. They looked really good, but I think it slipped away, especially with Embiid being hurt and injured. But let's move on from that. Let's talk about how the Rockets, I think the whole team underperformed there against the Golden State Warriors. I don't think they would have any other chance against any of those teams, Portland or Denver. It was a discussion that came up previously with us that if the Rockets had to play the Trailblazers or even Denver, say like the roles were reversed, that David here thinks the Rockets would beat both the Nuggets if they had to, and the Trailblazers. So I did not agree with that. I would say maybe the Trailblazers, but I think the Nuggets would give them a huge fight. But I had in the semifinals, I really liked the way Portland played. McCollum was on fire. They really showed how well their backcourt could be, Lillard and McCollum, but I don't see the Rockets beating Nuggets or Trailblazers.
All right.
So definitely, I want to hear your opinion.
I'm gonna throw some stuff out here.
Okay.
And there's gonna be a lot of disagreement here, but I think the Western Conference has now become overhyped in a way. Mm-hmm. We've been talking so much about the Western Conference and
Why would we not though? Why would we not? The best players, the best of the best, are in the West. Okay, you've got some great players in the East, but if you look at every single seed in the West, they've got 1 or 2, maybe 3 great players that are top tier players. But if you look at the East, you don't have anybody in Detroit. You do, but they're not working well. You've got players, Magic. They don't have any stars. You got Nets. There's not much there.
I mean, you're looking at the bottom of the East. I'm talking about the top of these conferences. Yes. The top of these conferences, I don't think the Trailblazers are very good. I think frankly, I think the Trailblazers are kind of lucky to be in the Western Conference Finals. You see, Lillard was great in the series against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Maybe it was the trash talk with Russell Westbrook that hyped him up, but since then he's been mediocre at times, especially in that Nuggets series. He really struggled. McCollum's been a surprise this playoffs, but realistically, I think the Rockets are levels above both of those teams.
I don't know.
The Trailblazers and the Nuggets. And I think the 76ers, Raptors, and Bucks are all better than the Nuggets and the Trailblazers. The only teams that are above the teams in the East, I think, are the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets.
I think those teams in the East that have a lot more depth than teams in the West, but there's just more star power in the West. I think I can agree with the Trailblazers maybe not doing well in the East if they were there, but I don't see like a young team with such great talent doing bad against the Rockets. But I don't know. Portland need to fire back.
Well, yes. We can talk about Portland later. But how about the Rockets? What do you see for their future? Do you see James Harden ever winning a title in Houston? Do you think Chris Paul should be there next year? What does their future look like? I mean, Chris Paul's under contract, but do you think they should try and move him? What's the next stage for the Houston Rockets?
Definitely, if they can move him now, move him now. I don't see him getting any better. I don't see him I don't see him improving or helping the team in any way, especially after this season, how underperform I think he played. But I think if they could move him, they need to move him right away, because if they want to have any chance at winning the title in the next 2-3 years, I think they need to get rid of him. Their team is great with Capella and James Harden, but I just don't see players like Chris Paul and maybe even PJ Tucker being there in the next couple of years, or even helping the team in any way. But definitely, like I said, I think Chris Paul, if they can get rid of him, they should get rid of him very soon.
I touched on this in the last when we did our little segment on playoff underperformers, but I think Chris Paul is past his prime. I don't think he's clearly past his prime. I think we knew that, but I think we're past seeing great basketball from Chris Paul, and he surprised me in Game 6. He actually had a really great Game 6 after we recorded that episode, but I still don't know about him, and every year he gets older. We should see a great
game
worse.
Like that every game, not when it matters the most. Every game is an important game, especially in the finals, and especially how much experience he has in the playoffs. He should be playing, or he should have been playing like that every single game. But I mean, you only saw it in Game 6. That's a bit frustrating as a fan, and I mean, especially I would assume for his teammates. I mean, I can only assume, but I don't.
I agree.
I would say it's a bit frustrating.
I agree. I think the Warriors missing KD actually defensively really hurt them in that series, in that Game 6. I think Chris Paul had his way a little bit, rather than against smaller defenders.
I think they were a bit carried. They were a bit carried by Harden there. He was doing great. He just didn't have the help. The team compared to last year, I keep telling you this, man. They lost really some key players, and it was obviously shown there. They didn't have a third or fourth option, if you want to say, offensively. The team wasn't there defensively. They couldn't do anything to stop Durant besides PJ Tucker, and even then you've got the two other options in Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry. You lost two great defensive and offensive players. So I didn't have that many. As much as I wanted them to win, I didn't have much hope for them.
I was really high on the Rockets, especially after they tied at 2-2. I think I picked them to win the series multiple times. It was probably a mistake, but I think it was a really bad move by the Rockets front office to get rid of Trevor Ariza and Luke Mbamute. I don't know if they had the cap space to bring both of them back in, but they should have tried at least.
The cancerous Chris Paul contract that he got was terrible. Why would you? I don't think that's great for trying to acquire other players. Everybody's looking for money, but everybody's also looking for a chance to win. And when you at such a late age take a 4-year, I think around $160 million contract, that's just a bit selfish on your part as a veteran player who definitely needs to be surrounded by players, for especially in this conference, to be surrounded by players to win a title.
The biggest mistake I think that the Rockets made this past summer was signing Carmelo Anthony. I think we all saw that.
I know.
And that was their solution to losing Trevor Ariza and Luke Mbamute. I think that was a really bad solution, and they realized that they got rid of him, but it wasn't enough to save their season.